All right, so day 6 of Project 365. We're working on Salt in Her Throat. Today we're just going to go over what we have so far of the script, and then maybe do a little extra work on there and kind of dive into what we have so far. So if you remember back, the way I want the film to start is kind of like Shrek, where you open up and there's a book and it's laying open and Shrek narrates the story to get the audience caught up to where the story begins. That's kind of what we're going to do here. A book lies in the middle of a beam of light. The camera pushes in and the book opens to the first page, revealing text and archaic images. So I kind of want to do the adult version of that, like an adult fairy tale, that sort of thing. So yeah, I've already taken this first part where the narrator speaks all the way down to the title card or to the text on screen of 21 years after a little mermaid lost her voice. I've sent all that to an artist, and I have the journal / book of what the fairy tale is going to be in, and right now she's decorating the outside and just bringing this piece to life for the prop for the film. And kind of what I have in mind is to announce the film. I think I want to do a Kickstarter or some sort of GoFundMe where we can raise money to help fund the film, just because I don't have the capital to make this, and it's going to be completely dependent upon people's goodwill or money. I'd love to get this thing funded so that we can give it what it's due, but I also know that I can put in a lot of the work and make it regardless. So, but that's for another time. So up to this point, we're going to use the beginning of this to, she's going to send it back. We're going to shoot, we're going to film it the way that I'm thinking, kind of like a camera test to kind of see how it's going to be. I can film it here, and then we'll use that video for like the launch teaser to get investors if they want to do it, if we can pull it off in the right way. So there was once a kind king who loved the sea, and for his kindness she loved him in return. The page flips. For every prince born to his bloodline, the sea gave a bride, her daughters for his son. And the kingdom prospered. The page turns to reveal a dark man. But not all in the king's service welcomed her gifts. One man, dark of heart, saw the pact as a curse. Page flips, showing a happy day in the kingdom. On the day of the last bride, he volunteered to bring her home. But when her feet touched his ship, he cast her into the sea. Page turns, showing the princess thrown overboard. The sea saw this, and from her depths she sent another, one with red hair and a voice of gold. This is kind of where it starts to take on the Disney, I'm sorry, not the Disney, but the original Little Mermaid tale. This is the first hint that we get for that. When the dark man returned and saw the prince wed, he swore to break the pact forever. Page flips, revealing chaos in the kingdom. He seized the throne and for 21 years ruled the kingdom. The page flips, showing us a figure in the depths of the sea, barely visible, but the sea remembers, and now she has come to collect what is owed. The camera pushes in on the last page while we fade into the deep ocean, and then the text on screen pops up, 21 years after a little mermaid lost her voice. All right, so what we have so far. The story starts in a coastal tavern in the Harbor District, somewhere on the outskirts of Vera, a cliffside kingdom. This is a made-up kingdom right here. The Little Mermaid original story never mentions a kingdom or a place or anything like that, so had to come up with something that sounds like it would fit that time frame. Narrow, winding streets descend to a sheltered bay lit by hundreds of lanterns strung between mastheads and balconies. Smells of brine, firewood, and fish oil linger in the air. Again, we're going for that gritty, that dirty, like everything's, I don't know. My vision of this is to have like just the frame is dirty. Like it's like an old place. Like someone would say the Black Plague, and what your brain goes to is kind of what I'm thinking. Rain falls and someone runs down the dark street into a door. So kind of there, we're pushing down the cobblestone street. It's raining, it's nighttime. Someone runs past us and just kind of goes into a place. We push down the street, our focus coming to a lantern hanging from a wood-carved sign, the lantern. The light flickers behind the stained glass when the door flies open and a man is thrown out onto the street. Warm light floods the street and voices pour out of the tavern. Then Eric, 40s, worn but very much still young, fills the doorway. He's looking down on this guy that just got thrown out. Don't bother coming back. The man curses, spits on the stone, and turns to leave. Eric watches to make sure he leaves, checks the street, then turns and enters the pub. So now we're going inside the lantern. That was the first look we get of any character, and it's Eric, one of the supporting characters. The bustle of tavern life is in full swing. Patrons laughing and drinking, slapping the tables after a banned hand of dice. Slapping the tables after a hand. I think I mistyped that. Slapping the tables after a game of dice. And a feller in the corner playing something on the piano that's out of tune. Eric hangs up the wet bar mop he had over his shoulder and takes a shot of something dark. Carl, a regular at the bar, that's kind of redundant, chuckles. You know he'll be right back tomorrow. Eric finishing the shot. Yep, probably so. Another chuckle. Eric started wiping down the bar when Lyra, early 40s, hasn't lost her beauty, came around the corner with a tray full of dirty dishes. Her red hair now has a few streaks of silver mixed in, and it is pulled up. I've also got to work on my tense because some of this stuff, I go in and out of past and present. I forget that script writing is all in the present tense, and I forget that. So some of this, when Lyra comes around the corner with a tray full of dirty dishes, her red hair now has a few streaks of silver mixed in it, and it is put up. It's put up. She sits down the tray and looks at Eric. A question in her eyes. He shakes his head. She's visibly relieved. She empties the tray and goes back to the floor. So the point of this is he just threw a guy out of the bar. That's the first image we get of Eric, right? Strong, stern, but he comes back and he drinks. And then Carl asks him, he'll be, just Carl's the guy, the regular at the bar who's just kind of like, he'll be back. And Eric's like, yeah, probably so. Lyra sees this, comes over, puts her dishes down, and looks at Eric, and she has a question in her eyes. She's, there's something between the two of them that passes. And he shakes his head. So all's good is what he's saying. The man at the bar waits for Lyra to be out of earshot before leaning over, and he jokes, ain't used to seeing red so antsy. Let me capitalize that. She didn't catch you with no one, did she? Eric doesn't stop wiping, but looks up at Lyra before he answers. If she had called me with someone else, she'd throw me out herself. And after a thought, you seen any more of Saint's men around here? Carl doesn't react, but brings the glass to his lips. This is familiar. They've talked about this before. Not past the docks, at least not that I've heard. He decides to take a drink, then thinks of something else first. But word is he's pressing further inland, taxing ships twice over. He's looking for something. Eric chews on this for a second. We see the wheels spin. You and Red will be fine. They don't have nothing to get you for. Unless one of those men you threw out was a distant relative of his. He gives a hearty chuckle. Eric knocks back his own drink. When Lyra returns to the bar, more dishes in hand. We need to tune the keys. It's only getting worse. No use this close to the sea, Red. I'll probably take that out of there. It's redundant. It won't hold but a few months with this moisture. She said, well, I got to hear it every night, and it being out of tune makes my head spin. Lyra throws a bar mop over her shoulder and starts washing dishes. Eric grabs a broom and heads to the corner where a few locals have just left. Everything all right? Carl asks. Lyra looks up from washing and takes a moment to brush away her mental fog. Before she can answer, the door opens, revealing a figure only lit by flashes of lightning. Absently, just fine. So at this point, Lyra, hopefully the audience will know that Lyra is Ariel. Obviously, I can't use the same names, and I'll probably have to change Eric's. But that's the Little Mermaid. It's 21 years later. A small woman steps in from the rain, soaked and swallowed by a coat that drags behind her. Lyra freezes. The girl, Calla, early 20s, black hair, beautiful, stands shivering in the doorway. Carl turns to look at what Lyra's looking at. To see. Looks like a lost puppy. Lyra was around the bar and across the pub in a flash. She reaches the girl and shuts the door behind her. Are you okay? No response. Calla just looks at Lyra, not quite frightened, but getting there. Are you hurt? Calla thinks for a second, then slowly shakes her head. Good. Lyra looks over at Eric, who looks over at her and stops sweeping. Lyra nods toward the back of the house, and Eric doesn't hesitate. This is not new to them. He leans the broom up against the wall and walks over to the door that leads up the upstairs. Lyra turns her attention back to Calla. You're safe here. Come with me. She notices immediately what Calla is. She reaches for her hand and starts to lead her across the tavern. When she reaches the bar, she turns to Carl. Watch the place for a bit, will you? Sure thing. Carl sees something's going on, doesn't ask questions. Lyra doesn't wait. She starts up the stairs with the girl in tow. At the top, Eric exits one of the rooms and stops. Calla huddles closer to Lyra once she sees Eric. I may have to change Calla and Lyra. That's a mouthful to keep saying back and forth like that. No, he's my husband. That's Eric. That's my husband, Eric. He won't hurt you. I shouldn't say he's mine. So she sees Eric standing at the top of the door, the top of the stairs, and is automatically like defensive. She reaches out with her hand and takes Eric's. Calla watches her movements with reluctance. I'll grab some broth. The room is set up for now. He walks past him and down the stairs. Lyra brings Calla to the room and sits her on the bed. She grabs to the room, sits her on the bed. So I need to go. We are now in interior Calla's room. Continuous. Lyra grabs a gown out of the closet and lays it beside her. With urgency. Any pain behind your ribs? Calla doesn't answer. She doesn't know. Lyra puts a hand on her ribs and pushes gently. Here, does it hurt? Calla slowly nods. That's all right. Perfectly normal. Have you bled since coming ashore? Calla has no idea. She looks as if Lyra just spoke fluent French to her. Lyra understands. Anywhere that's split, toes, fingers, legs, any bleeding. Lyra reaches down and pulls up one of Calla's feet, looking at her sole and toes. Good, no scabbing or deep lacerations. It'll itch like hell, but you'll be fine. She set her foot back down, then brushed a piece of her own hair behind her ear. Have you eaten? Calla shakes her head and pulls the coat tighter around herself. I figured. Eric's bringing up some broth. You'll need something that won't upset the stomach. So there is, some of this hasn't updated, doesn't look like. I wonder if I exit out and go back into it. No. So this is what I have so far. This is the first draft. I'm just trying to get words on a page, trying to get the story out, and not perfect. The whole point of this first draft is just to get the story out and get through. So I'm trying to put my head down and just get it all out. That's why every day my update is just, hey, we're working on the script, nothing new, nothing changes, and that's pretty much it. Once I get the first draft completed, then I'll go back and start making edits to get the second draft done, and then I will probably send the second draft off for review to a couple close friends, and get some feedback. And I even know a couple professors at the university that maybe want to give it a read to help out some outside opinions there. So that's the update for today, August 6th. This is day 6, so we will mark off our calendar for day 6. Is that in frame? It is. Mark it off. We are, 7 pages in on the script. Long way to go. So if you go by typical filmmaking, every page is a minute of screen time. So we're 6 minutes in the film, and this is where we're at. So I'll do some more writing tonight probably, and tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. So I'll update you guys next time.